was fire. Like you got that big ass microphone. Listen, the DJI wireless microphone,
Oh yeah.
straight
Hey, we
at
love.
yo.
What is up, everybody?
Hello, Keenan. There we go. Okay. Howdy. Should I even say howdy, y'all? Howdy.
Go on, hit them with a howdy.
Howdy, and good evening, and welcome to our town hall hosted by the Texas A&M Black Former Student Network. For those of you guys that are tuning in, there is a link posted so that you can chat and engage with us. We're doing a town hall format tonight with our very, very esteemed and special guests. I have the honor and opportunity to moderate the conversation for you guys tonight. What our format is going to be is there have been questions that have been pre-submitted that I have that we will address, but you'll also have the opportunity to submit your questions. We're going to open by introducing and hearing for our guests. My name is Erica Davis Rouse. I am the president-elect of the Black Former Student Network and also the founder and chair of the Aggie Impact Gala. I am a Texas A&M graduate, 1995, and believe it or not, but I am a graduate from the journalism department at Texas A&M. And so, although that is not my official capacity with you guys tonight, it is a department that is truly near and dear to my heart. So let me get us started by telling you who we have the special privilege of having with us tonight. Let me start off by introducing Tashara Parker. She is an award-winning anchor and reporter at WFAA News 8 in Dallas. If you are in Dallas, you know her. She covers traffic, breaking news, inspirational stories. She is featured as one of WFAA's preeminent voices. The Daybreak anchor brings experience, vibrancy, and authenticity, capturing the attention of viewers in an engaging and informative way, all the while creating loyalty and social impact. She's a treasure to her station. She's coined as a community-focused storyteller. Tashara is the go-to source for highlighting organizations and individuals who have historically been underrepresented and even misrepresented in mainstream media. As a dedicated visionary and one of Dallas's most influential voices, Tashara utilizes her platform to volunteer hundreds of hours to many organizations, including Boys and Girls Club of America and her beloved sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. In October of 2020, Tashara sparked a global conversation. This is true. I was there. I saw it happen. Following backlash she received for a natural bun hairstyle she wore on air. Praised by viewers, her response achieved virality, igniting a national discussion surrounding natural hair discrimination and organically evolving into the launch of her Bun Ministry, a movement that's a rapidly budding space to celebrate, educate, and empower individuals on the journey and love for all things natural hair. In the spirit of innovation, her acclaimed original series, Rooted, for the ABC network affiliate WFAA, was met with rave reviews for tenaciously tackling the taboo topic of Black hair, professionalism within the workplace. Now, that's another conversation we need to have. In amplifying this message, Tashara was quickly catapulted as one of the many universal thought leaders tapped for commentary and dialogue on this ever-evolving subject. With a truly dedicated following, she has raving fans, both on and off the air. The journalist is described by viewers as someone who truly cares about people and about her community, recently earning her the honor of Best Broadcast Journalist by the Dallas Weekly. With this powerful mantra lighting her path, Tashara continues to carve her slate within the industry as not only a journalist, but also a social innovator, bringing both DFW and the best in community storytelling to the forefront. Thank you so much, Tashara Parker, for being with us tonight. And I know it's past your bedtime, so we're not gonna, I'm like church, we're not gonna hold you long. We're gonna get in and get out. And to help us do that, we also have Roland S. Martin. Okay, this is long, but I need to tell you all these things because over the course of his career, he has interviewed multiple U.S. presidents, top athletes, entertainers in Hollywood. Roland is a journalist who has always maintained a clear sense of his calling in the world. That's true. Many have bestowed upon him the moniker, the voice of Black America, and he has always been consistent, y'all. Martin is the host and managing editor of Roland Martin Unfiltered, the first daily online show in history focused on news and analysis of politics, entertainment, sports, and culture from explicitly African-American perspective. It launched on September 4th, 2018. On September 4th, 2021, Martin launched the Black Star Network, an OTT network that features a variety of shows focused on news, culture, finance, wellness, and history. BSN is available on all the platforms: Apple, Android, Apple and Android television, Roku, Amazon, Fire, Xbox, and Samsung, pretty much any TV. For the last 2 years, Martin produces a twice daily commentary on iHeartRadio's Black Information Network, heard on nearly 40 stations nationwide. Martin is the author of 4 books. His latest is White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. That sounds like a title to one of his books. His other books are Listening to the Spirit Within, 50 Perspectives on Faith, Speak Brother, A Black Man's View of America, and the first Black President, Barack Obama's Road to the White House, as originally reported by Roland S. Martin. We were so proud to see you doing those interviews, I have to tell you. He has contributed to several others, including Paradox of Loyalty, An African-American Response to the War on Terrorism by Julianne Malveaux, Black Woman Redefined, Dispelling Myths and Discovering Fulfillment in the Age of Michelle Obama by Sophia Nelson, Favish Prisoner, New York and Fatherhood, Rising to the Ultimate Challenge by Ethan Thomas and Nick Childs. Martin is a sought-after international speaker, we know, delivering speeches and lectures to numerous groups annually, electrifying audiences with his deep understanding of history, politics, culture, and how they all intersect. He has been named 4 times by Ebony Magazine as one of the 150 most influential African Americans in the United States, as well as, I know he has some other awards, Jet Magazine readers voted him in 2012 as King of the Hill in terms of those they turn to for issues that concern African Americans. Martin came ahead of the likes of Reverend Al Sharpton and, oh my goodness, Donna Brazile. News1.com named him as the #1 Black pundit in the country. And he's been named several other times, you guys, the Route 100, the annual list of influential African Americans, and has won just a slew of awards for just being himself and keeping
I was about to say, Erica, just say he's that guy.
Look, which he's going to do with us and for us tonight. The last thing I'll say is in December 2021, he was inducted as the youngest living member of the National Association of Black Journalists Hall of Fame. Woo! That was a lot, but you know what? This is for perpetuity. It's for the gram. It's for the you guys deserve your flowers. I don't care. We're going to read it. We're going to say it. We're going to tell who you are, all the things that you've done, because it matters. And you are both. One of the reasons we are called here today, you are both graduates of Texas A&M University, Roland from the Department of Journalism, Tashar from the Communications Department. That's an important distinction because having that accredited, esteemed Department of Journalism is why we're having this conversation tonight. And so I want you to explain, Tashara, when I turn the mic over to you, one of the reasons why your degree was in communications and not in journalism, because I think that's an important distinction to make. But first, I'm going to turn this over to Roland because I want you to tell us, Roland, in your words, for those that maybe just were under a rock and don't know what happened, will you give us a timeline of what happened with Dr. Kathleen McElroy?
Well, appreciate it. Glad to be here. So Dr. Kathleen Banks decided to bring back the journalism department. They had gotten rid of it. And honestly, they should have, because 2/3 of the people who were in the department did not want to go into journalism. They wanted to go into PR. So that's just understand the truth behind all of that. So that's one. And so they were negotiating different people to who's going to run the department. Kathleen McElroy ran the University of Texas School of Journalism. Frankly, it's the top program in the state. Aggies don't want to hear that. But the reality, it is. Look at is A&M. Even when we had a journalism department, wasn't even in the top 10 in the state. That's just a fact. Okay, and so it was about getting a 5-year contract, 10-year, and all of a sudden, when President Banks signed off on it, Chancellor John Sharp signed off on it. All of a sudden, when it goes to the Board of Regents, all of a sudden there's a problem. Then this right-wing website writes this story claiming she was this radical, focused on race, diversity, and this rudder group, they all get involved. And so what ends up happening, they go from agreeing her to a deal, having a big signing ceremony, like she was a 5-star athlete and she was a 5-star recruit, to all of a sudden going from that offer to an offer of no tenure, and then knocking this thing down to it was grossly insulting for somebody with a distinguished career, worked with the New York Times, who's also a graduate of Texas A&M. And so once the Texas Tribune reported on this story, this thing has gone national. And I was one of the folks who was highly critical of it. And I made clear that any athlete, especially any black athletes considering A&M, should opt not to this university has treated Kathleen McElroy. So what this says to me, these white conservative Aggies who are upset with Kathleen and her career, they love DEI on Saturday afternoons. They love DEI on the basketball court. They love DEI on the track team. But all of a sudden, they got a problem when you talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. And what it says to me, the Texas A&M Journalism Ring of Honor, who was in the NABJ Hall of Fame, who was in the SPJ Hall of Fame, who has got 4 NAACP Image Awards, that if you have a problem with a Kathleen McElroy coming back to teach and helm a program at A&M to build it up, then you would reject my resume. And let me be real clear, the most prominent journalism graduate before I got to A&M was country singer Lyle Lovett. And I said then, you can't have a top journalism graduate and your greatest one is a country singer. You want journalism folk to represent your university and your field. And what it says is that at A&M, with these critics, welcome Tashara to come back to teach students. They wouldn't welcome me to come back. And if you wouldn't welcome us to come back, who do you think you're going to lean on to come back to teach the next generation? And that's how we got to this point. And so they're trying to figure out what's next. And the bottom line is the NAACP has weighed in. Black legislators have weighed in. We just lost the interim dean of the College of Liberal Arts, and who was supportive of her as well. And so this is an absolute debacle that has embarrassed Texas A&M, has embarrassed black former students. But I can also tell you it has galvanized folks. I've gotten calls from black former students who are athletes. I've gotten calls from parents whose kids are considering A&M, who now are reconsidering because of this shameful action by university leaders.
Thank you, Roland. Tashara, when you became aware of what was happening as someone, because the point that Roland is making, and I know that he's traveling right now, we're so grateful that he was able to join us, but if you really didn't hear clearly what he said, basically he's saying, if you are a person who is working as a journalist, and if you are an esteemed journalist, meaning you've been awarded by peers in your industry, you've been awarded by journalism organizations that are reputable and esteemed, if you're not welcome there to rebuild a program that lost its accreditation, as it should have, because we were not producing the type of graduates that were working in the field of journalism like we should, then what are we doing? And if it's only because of what it's now seeming like the color of that person's skin, what is it that we're really looking for and what do we want? Because we know engineers from A&M, we know physicians from A&M. It was funny because I was talking to someone today, I was today years old, a Black Aggie. And I said, yes, Roland we're using his platform to have this conversation. Roland Martin went to A&M.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he did. So, Tashara, what was brought up for you when you started hearing about what was happening?
Yeah, initially, first of all, thank you for having me, and always a pleasure to be in conversation. Not this type of conversation, but happy to be a part of it for sure. When I first heard about this, it was actually a tweet from another former Aggie, not former Aggie, from another Aggie, that is. And I saw it and I got to reading the story, and it was a Texas Tribune article that Roland referenced early on, talking about the botched contract with Dr. McElroy. And I started reading the story and I was just like, I can't believe this is something that is still happening. And I knew what was going on with DEI and, the legislation that had been passed. But I was like, surely they won't use this as, their clutch to not allow this woman, this highly esteemed woman, to become a part of the faculty here. And so anyways, when I first read that, I just got to a point where my heart just kind of sank, because I was like, why are we still having these types of conversations? You have someone that has come in with all the credentials that she needs, but still the color of her skin is being used to prevent her from, coming on board. And so that was my first take, hearing about it. And so I shared it on social media. And one of the things that I continue to receive as far as feedback is concerned, of course, me as a Black woman who posted about it, was, why do you guys keep going to A&M when you know what's going to happen? And I mentioned this to you earlier, Erica, when we were off camera. They say it's like y'all are running to the fire, wondering if you're going to get burned. And so I had to respond to that and just talk about the reason that I chose to come to A&M. And by the way, you mentioned this earlier, the journalism degree was not a degree that was offered when I was a student there. So I actually ended up graduating in 2010 with a communications degree. And that is an important distinction, like you mentioned earlier, because we did need to, revitalize that program. And so, one of the reasons that I wanted to speak up and say something about it is because I know that I have a platform, like most of us do, and we need to talk about these things. We need to understand what has happened. And you got to remember that it can happen to her today, but it can happen to you tomorrow. Yes. And so if we don't have these conversations, it's just going to continue to be, tossed under the rug and act as if nothing went wrong when we clearly see what has happened.
So here's my question.
See, Erica, I went to a communications high school, Jack Yates High School in Houston. We had school communications. And for me, I wanted people teaching me who worked in the industry.
Yes.
My television instructor was Mary Waits. She was a producer in television. The newspaper instructor, Thelma Johnson, had worked in newspaper. Mr. Miller, Ronald Miller, had worked in radio. So my foundation in high school were professional teachers. Well, I had some folk at A&M who worked in the industry, others who didn't. It wasn't a strong program. Right. You had great people like Dr. Starr. You had great people, other professors, but that was one of the problems. So if you're trying to rebuild a program and you want to make it program, what do? You go out and get strong journalists who are now professors who can create a strong institution. In essence, recruiting Kathleen McElroy was the equivalent of President Banks and Chancellor Sharp signing a 5-star. Texas A&M Board of Regents tell Jimbo Fisher, we don't want this 5-star quarterback. We don't want this 5-star wide receiver. Hell no. A&M would be celebrating and hooping and hollering if we sign the number 1 recruit in the state. You have to look at Kathleen McElroy in that. Guess what? When a Kathleen McElroy gets hired by A&M, what do star recruits do? They attract other stars. And so what the Board of Regents here did, and what the leadership by frankly accepting this crap from the Board of Regents and this President Banks and Chancellor Sharp, what they have now say to other great folk, don't come to A&M because we don't want talented people. We don't
Yep.
want 5 stars. We want substandard folks who are going to be approved by a group of, political ideologues who know nothing about journalism, who can't even spell who, what, where, when, how, or why, and then to get talented staff, talented faculty, which means you're not going to get talented students. That is what they have created by this debacle.
Tashara, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I agree. I second everything that Roland just mentioned. You know, I just think it creates this atmosphere where you get mediocre folks applying to this program and trying to be a part of it. How are you going to revitalize something when you don't have the best in the game? So I second everything that he mentioned, and we have to understand the precedent that this is setting when you're not allowing those faculty decisions to be made by the folks who should be making those decisions directly, not all that outside influence.
I think that is really the point, right, Roland? That who is actually making the decisions, and even more importantly, for those of us that are already Black Aggies, we are already Black Aggies. If people stopped sending their kids to A&M today, tomorrow, we will still always be Aggies, right? Some of that we embrace, some of that we maybe distance ourselves from, but it's not, we can't go back and have revisionist history. So what is our role? What do we do? You guys have big platforms. Roland, I know you were calling for the boycott of athletes.
Yeah. So let me also put this in context for all of these Simple Simon Aggies who they've been on my timeline whining, complaining. Well, I'm gonna use 5-star again. I was voted by the faculty at my high school as the best student in my school. I chose to go to A&M, not because of the journalism department. My brother was already there, but because financially it was easier on my parents. They have 3 kids in school. All 3 of us went to A&M to be in one place. I could easily go to Missouri, Syracuse, all the top schools, but I chose to go to A&M. Has benefited from my success in the field when I'm wearing the Aggie pin on the air, when I was on CNN, and I'm wearing the Texas A&M lapel pin, when I'm on NBC and CBS and all the networks. And it's great to see an Aggie up there. So they benefited from me being a top journalism student in high school coming to A&M. I didn't come there to a great program. And again, that's just, I had some great professors there, but it wasn't a great program. So they benefited from that. So what they're now saying is, so all of this great success, 6 honorary degrees, 4 Image Awards, 400, 200, 300 awards, 3 Halls of Fame, all this sort of stuff, all that stuff is meaningless because some ideologues got a problem because I may have talked about and focused on race, diversity, and being honest about what's happening. And so what they don't understand is, so why is my book called, this is in the back of my book. I literally predicted this. My book is called White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Not all white people, but these are people who are so hell-bent and they want to holler merit, 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 but they ain't got to say nothing about legacy. And so what they don't understand is we've already seen the net effect. One professor tweeted that a person in another department, I forgot which department, decided to decline the job because of what happened to Kathleen McElroy. Wow. We just had a woman in the architecture department resign her position. She's going to stay as the professor, but she's going to resign her position, I think, as assistant to the dean because of what happened to Kathleen McElroy. And what she wrote is, what does this say about anybody we recruit that we might renege on the offer because a small group of critics all of a sudden open their mouths? What Texas A&M has to understand is you can't all this, Aggies, we protect each other. Well, these folks just screwed a fellow Aggie.
Wow.
That's what they just did. They just screwed a fellow Aggie. So all that Aggie support Aggies is completely goes out the window because of what they just did to Kathleen McElroy. So what are they actually saying? Are they actually saying that, yeah, we'll accept certain Aggies, but if you choose to actually care about a diverse America, yeah, you're not welcome here. And if that is going to be the position, let me be perfectly clear to the Board of Regents and President Banks and Chancellor Sharp. Texas A&M is going to remain a second-rate institution, and we will never be a top-tier institution if we allow individuals to accept the reality that we cannot recruit diverse people. We're going to lose them to Texas, to Florida, to Oklahoma, to LSU, and if all of a sudden we're going to look up and go, wait a minute, where all this great talent go? It's because we got Aggies who got their heads stuck in the sand and they want to remain in the 1950s. By the way, we couldn't go to A&M in the 1950s.
I hear you loud and clear. Let me share with you guys a couple questions that have come up, and please just jump in.
Yeah.
One of the questions that was sent in, this is from Tashara Robinson. First of all, let me shout out some of the people in the chat. Thank y'all for your input, your comments, your engagement. Leslie Thompson, 94. Roland's brother, Reginald Martin. Chris Henderson, 91. Stefan Freeman. Darren Edwards. S. Patrick, 93. Thank you, guys. We're going to be on for at least another 30 minutes. Spread the word. Get more of your alumni, your classmates to join the conversation. So Tashara and or Roland, I know this isn't necessarily our area of expertise, but I know you both have worked in this field. This question says, what is the difference between affirmative action and DEI? Either one of you want to tackle that?
I'll let
Tashara, go ahead.
You got it.
Look, okay, so here's the deal. Let's just be perfectly clear. I'm going to take affirmative action first. There's been no greater beneficiary of affirmative action in American history than white women. All you Aggies, there's been no greater beneficiary of affirmative action than white women.
Can you explain and elaborate that, please?
So so when the 1964 Civil Rights Act was being debated, there was a racist in Virginia named Judge Smith, where I am right now in Virginia, who thought he was going to scuttle the Civil Rights Act by including women in the act. What it did was it got more votes. 1964 Civil Rights Act gets passed. What then happens? President Lyndon Baines Johnson gives a speech at Howard University where he talks about the need to take affirmative action in order to remedy past discrimination. Nixon, he chooses not to run in 68. Nixon wins. Arthur Fletcher, an African American, puts in place the affirmative action program in the federal government. That happened under a Republican president. White conservative Aggies. President Richard Nixon. Arthur Fletcher was the one who put it in place. Then you go to Title IX. Title IX was never about sports. Title IX was about opening professional schools to women. That is, universities that could not discriminate against women that were receiving federal dollars. What happened? Women became doctors, lawyers, engineers, architects because the professional schools opened, who largely benefited white women. So the reason you have your percentages today of women, namely white women in colleges, is because of affirmative action programs. When you hear MWBE, that's Minority and Women Business Enterprise. If you are a black woman, you in the black category. Latina, you in the Latino category. The W really stands for white women. These are undeniable facts that cannot be refuted. And so affirmative action is about creating pathways for individuals who have been historically marginalized and left out of the process. And historically, that has been black people, Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, and women, white women. Affirmative action does not mean, oh, you're not as qualified. because it's a whole bunch of white men who have been let into colleges, who've been gotten jobs, and they are not qualified at all, but they got the white male hookup. That's just fact as well. And so you've had these attacks on affirmative action because you hear, oh, it's reverse racism. I remember when President Bob Gates was at Texas A&M, and I was there for the news conference, and he and I had the conversations when all of these Aggies were like, we shouldn't use race in admissions. To Bob Gates' credit, he said, if we should not use race, then we should get rid of legacy. And if all I wanted, and I was the one who questioned President George W. Bush in 2004 at the Uni Journalists of Color Convention about this issue, and I said, Mr. President, if people they want to get rid of affirmative action or quotas, what about legacy? And he said it should be based upon merit, and acknowledged that he got into school because of his daddy. Let me tell you what happened. The next day, Harvard, Yale, and all these major schools, alumni blew their phones up wondering if they were going to get rid of legacy because of what President George W. Bush had to say in 2004. And guess what? All of these white conservatives, Rudder Association, and that little site that went after Kathleen McElroy, they've been applauding the Supreme Court's decision on affirmative action in college admissions. But guess what they haven't said a word about? The same Supreme Court said affirmative action, use of race in college admissions, is okay for the military academies. Now, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Hold up. So you're saying it's bad for civilian colleges, but why is it good for the military? Because Chief Justice John Roberts literally said that the military has a interest in having a diverse military. Now, please explain to me how the same Supreme Court said it's cool for West Point, for the Air Force Academy, the Naval Academy, for them to maintain affirmative action, but not everybody else. And that's where we are. And the same, and I'm being very specific when I say white conservatives who are complaining of folks at A&M. Have you heard any of them say legacy should be abolished in all schools? They have not. And who is the greatest beneficiary of legacy? White Americans. Why? Because if their grandfather went to a university in Texas A&M, used to use legacy, that means that a white student benefited from their grandfather going to A&M, but my grandfather couldn't go to A&M, which meant that they were benefiting from a Jim Crow policy, and I wasn't. But you don't hear them discussing that. I wonder why.
No, I hear you loud and clear. And I think this is a perfect segue to what Tashara was explaining on her Instagram a couple days ago when I saw it, because everything you just said and the validity of everything you just said, and this is another question that we got, but there's still this misnomer that Black people accepted or Black students accepted into Texas A&M are less qualified, or someone just I don't know.
Look, I said this on my Instagram page the other day when all of this stuff, first broke over the weekend. I said it earlier this week. When I get that question, and I feel like someone has asked that question here in a certain way, it was somewhere in the comments. But when you talk about Black students going to A&M, everyone assumes they know the reason why, right? If you didn't play sports, why are you even going to Texas A&M University? And Roland already told you his reason why, but I was a first-generation college student. A&M was recruiting us for academics, not for sports. So they would come out to my school in inner city Houston and recruit us from there. We didn't have a lot of other schools coming to Forest Brook Senior High School in Houston, Texas. Okay. So when A&M would consistently show up and bring us to Texas A&M University, sometimes for overnight stays, you were learning about the school. You were getting ingrained in the culture. And as somebody who did not have anyone else that went to school before her, right? We didn't have a whole lot of resources at Forest Brook. That's what we knew. And I don't regret that decision. I got a great education at Texas A&M, and I was able to do a lot of things that I never thought possible by attending attending Texas A&M University. But I think it's important to understand that when you try to group all of us together as one group of people, and the reason and rationale why we chose to attend Texas A&M, I think folks need to really dig deep and understand that there are a lot of different reasons. So mine was different, Roland's was different, and I'm sure there are many others. So for me, I think we need to all just come together and figure out how we can help the students that are still at Texas A&M. Somebody asked in the comments, are we asking for everyone to boycott the school, all Black students to boycott the school? I'm certainly not saying that, but what I will say is I agree with Roland when it comes to athletes. If y'all trying to get 5-star athletes, but you're not trying to get a 5-star professor to come on over to the school and lead a program. So that's the problem for me. And I think, we just need to keep having these conversations because, like I said earlier, we cannot sweep this under the rug or it's just going to continue happening. It can be her today and it could be me tomorrow.
That is so poignant because I've gotten a lot of questions about the gala. Are we still going to have the gala? Are we still going to do the gala? And for those that don't know, I want to kind of give the background of why we even decided to do a gala. We had been going to A&M and begging and asking for more scholarship funds since they did away with the Presidential Achievement Award that many of us in the 90s got as funds to attend A&M, combined with those individual recruitment efforts that Tashara talked about, that Roland talked about. I went to a white high school. I had my heart set on going to a Black college, going to HBCU. I was recruited with a scholarship to Spelman. I was recruited with a scholarship to Xavier. Texas A&M, believe it or not, many of you in the comments will believe it, was really the only school that sent someone to talk to me, to meet with me. And I was top 10, but 10%, not top 10, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So for a student like me who wasn't an athlete, I really felt that personal touch. Plus, with it being in Texas, back then it was far enough away to be far enough. It's gotten a little closer with the freeways these days. And with the cost, I actually was able to go to A&M and graduate without a student loan with my scholarship and with what my parents paid. And they wanted me to come there. They acted at the time that they wanted me to come there. So it wasn't a really difficult decision, even though I did have my heart set on going to an HBCU just because of the environment that I had been raised in up to that point. But when I got there, and Roland, I will tell you this, as a person who was pursuing a degree in journalism, and I probably told you this before, you're right about the staff. Yes, there was Dr. Starr, but you know who I got a lot of my mentorship and my guidance from, Roland? From you. Not from the faculty necessarily at A&M. Roland was the one that told me, you need to join NABJ. Oh, you need to apply for this. And I don't know if it was you, Roland, or someone you told to do it, but someone put my name in the hat to host Ray Bowen and Friends, the television show that was aired live with the president of the university that was hosted by me, a little Black girl at Texas A&M. But that wasn't happening by A&M. It was happening by people that were there, that were advocating, but those people kind of looked like me, right? So for me, going and trying to figure out and begging A&M and meeting with all these different stakeholders to get that scholarship reinstated, we were batting our heads against the wall. So myself, along with some other Black former students, we said, you know what, quit asking them. We'll raise our own money. We'll give our own scholarship. And that's what we've been doing.
Right.
No, we haven't raised the amount of money that was given out with the PAA, but we're getting there, y'all. And so the question that I've been asked a lot is, what about the gala? Okay, we still have Black students at A&M. We still got to support them. We still have Black faculty at A&M. We still got to support them. We still have Black staff. So we can't abandon them. But here's a question that I want to pose to you guys that really made me think. This is from Broderick Lowe II. My name is Broderick Lowe II. I'm class of 26, and I'm a business honors and supply chain management student from Dallas, Texas. This upcoming year, I'm the president of the Multicultural Association of Business Students, MABS. The Senate Bill 17, which bans the Office of Diversity, you guys, which is closing on September the 1st. So if you didn't know that, A&M has not wasted time in their interpretation of this state bill. So we'll come back to that. Which bans the Office of Diversity and Inclusion at Mays Business of School. It doesn't actually ban the office, but that's A&M's interpretation, but we'll get back to that. Will leave my organization without the faculty support it has had since its inception. In what ways can Black former students and the Black Former Student Network help DEI organizations like Multicultural Association of Business Students prosper, even with the legislative barriers enacted to limit our impact on campus? And chat, please also feel free to chime in on some of these questions.
Hey, real quick, I just want to clarify.
Yeah.
Are we for sure that the organization won't have any faculty support? Again, I know that there's a interpretation factor there of what this bill could mean for certain groups, but have we clarified that yet?
I think the assumption by this student is that their support must fall under the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. And with the closure of that office, where will their actual support come from is what I'm believing that he's saying, but we'll do our best to, Broderick, we'll do our best to address your question as best we can.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Because of what Greg Abbott is doing in Texas and Dan Patrick, because of what Ron DeSantis is doing in Florida, people are scared to death because their deal, any mention of race, any sort of focus, everybody is skittish. And administrators are skittish because, oh my goodness, is this going to run afoul of the law? That's how ridiculous the law is, okay? And so that's the problem that we are now facing and dealing with because of how Republicans have acted just stupidly when it comes to this whole issue of diversity, equity, inclusion. And they're also lying. They're lying. 35 former military leaders filed an amicus brief with the Supreme Court stating how important diversity, equity, inclusion has been in diversifying the armed forces. 35 leaders. And then when Ron DeSantis was just on Jake Tapper's show saying, oh, it's failed in corporate America, another flat out lie. The fact of the matter is, it has been affirmative action for all of its problems, has been the most successful path in terms of trying to provide opportunities for a diverse area of people. Now, I'm about to mess some Aggies up. Tashara and Erica, y'all may not know this. Kyrie Irving, were y'all aware that Kyrie Irving, it came down to 2 schools that he was considering to go to college? He went to Duke. He went to Duke. Do you know what the other one was? Texas A&M. Texas A&M. Mark Turgeon was the head basketball coach. Guess who Coach Turgeon called? Listen to me clearly. All you white conservative Aggies. Guess who Texas A&M basketball coach Mark Turgeon called to try to persuade Kyrie Irving to come to Texas A&M? Me. Kyrie wanted to major in communications. Mark Turgeon put me on the speakerphone with Kyrie and his daddy. Kyrie's daddy played basketball with a brother named Gary D. Howard. Who is Gary D. Howard? He was one up in the NABJ Hall of Fame, and he was the first African American sports editor of a major newspaper. So when they called me, Kyrie and his daddy knew who I was because of Time Joyner Morning Show, TV One, and CNN. So if Roland Martin ain't an Aggie, Kyrie Irving and his daddy don't know who to call. Coach Gary Blair has called me and to help recruit women to the A&M basketball team, including some of our All-Americans. Coach Kevin Sumlin asked me to help recruit. So isn't it amazing that these coaches asked this journalism graduate, asked this Hall of Famer to recruit athletes, but this is how the Board of Regents and the administration treats a highly successful A&M graduate who went on to an esteemed career in journalism. This is why they are nonsensical. And so you ask the question, what your former students do? Black former students, many of your companies give to Texas A&M. You need to go to your companies and say, if this is how they're going to treat someone like me, our company should pull our donations to Texas A&M. If you want to understand how to impact America, America don't understand nothing but the money.
Yeah.
They understand the money. They understand. And so when you pull the black athletes, you are affecting the money. And when you start telling corporate America, don't send the money to A&M, send it somewhere else, they will respond to the money.
Yep.
We can sit here, yell, hoop, holler, or whatever, but they understand the money. And if y'all saying, well, Roland, that's a little harsh, go read Dr. King's speech on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple. When not the I Have a Dream part. Now, excuse me, the mountaintop part. That's the bottom 2 minutes. Go read the previous 41 minutes when Dr. King said we must redistribute the pain. He said that we must make it clear those who do not want to do business with us, we do not do business with them. We have got to understand. And he also said that black folks must move as a collective in order to affect change. And that's how we get this institution to understand. And my last point is real simple. Texas A&M is a public institution. Erica, your parents are taxpayers. Tashara, your family are taxpayers. My mama and daddy and grandparents and aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters are taxpayers. I still own my home in the Dallas area. I'm a taxpayer. So Texas A&M is our damn school, and we have a right to fight to be there because we paying for it.
Tashara?
Oh, I'm ready for the next question. I don't need to tag team on Roland.
Okay, so here's the next question, which, this one kind of like, it hit me in the gut a little bit.
I do want to answer something, Erica. A lot of folks are saying in the comments, how can we continue to support the students? And I don't know if we directly answered that, but I do want to say that whatever we can do, and Roland's brother Reginald was in the comments earlier as well, saying that we need to make sure that we continue to give our dollars to scholarships, whether it's AIG, the Black Former Students Network, to make sure that we're continuing to support those organizations that are supporting the people that look like us. Because we mentioned this early on, there are still a lot of students at Texas A&M, still a lot of faculty at A&M that look like us. And the last thing that I want them to deal with is feeling like we've forgotten about them. So that's one of the points that I want to emphasize when it comes to scholarship dollars, or when it comes to dollars and how we're putting that money back into schools.
And to the graduates, remember, we don't have to get Texas A&M's permission to help students. We don't have to get their permission. Tom Joyner and his foundation, they gave the money directly to students. So if we want, we can help students. We can help black students directly, and that don't break no laws. They can't tell you who to send your money to. So there's a way for us to do that, and we need to consider that.
So, and I'm going to talk about this at the end about please engaging with the Black Former Student Network. I'm actually the president-elect. I don't take over until August the 1st. But one of the things that we did with some of the funds from the gala, with the help of some campus leadership that explained to us how the scholarships work, we have now a fund that is called Direct to Student Support. It's private funds given to the Black Former Student Network that we distribute to students that need help. We have paid for people's cars to be fixed. We have some infrastructure in place. So for example, if they say, my car is broken down, it's at this shop, we pay the people at the shop. We paid rent. We've paid for food. So it's a newer initiative that the BFSN started. Really, we were able to put in place last year because we had the funds to do it. But we've literally been able to keep some students in school, but more than that, help them feel supported. Like they have somebody that they can go to when they need money. They need money. And because it's direct support paid directly to the entity, it does not count against their scholarship. So A&M has a very interesting way that they view financial aid. And if we were to give, let's just say, give $1,000 to a student, A&M would say, oh, you got $1,000 scholarship. Okay, we're going to minus that from monies you already get. So they end up neutral.
That's most schools. That's most schools. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've been able to put some infrastructure in place to help students that have immediate needs with things that can sidetrack them through money that's come from all of you that we can pay to the source that they need the monies paid to. So I did just want to say that this question, and this is really for all of us. And of course, I hold it near and dear to my heart because I'm being called out. But he says, this is from T. Rollins, class of 90. Where were the Aggie alumni organizations during the legislative session when 200 plus students, faculty, staff, and the NAACP Legal Defense Fund testified against the defunding and elimination of DEI programs at public universities?
First of all, they were there. They were there. But y'all got to understand something. The die was cast. The votes are there. Republicans have a supermajority. They control the Texas Senate. They control the Texas House. They control the governor's mansion. And so I can tell you, I was dealing with the Black Caucus, and they understood very well that these things were going to get passed, and they could not stop them. And so that was happening. The moment Ron DeSantis did it in Florida, then you begin to see it. Texas, Abbott picked it up, Kemp in Georgia, and different places. So these things are happening. So if you want to talk about, see, again, testifying is one thing in which I actually encourage. But let me remind people, in the 2022 midterm, listen to me clearly, 75% of all Texans 30 and under did not vote.
Correct.
75%. So the greatest way to stop what is happening here is for folks to mobilize and organize and vote. If 75% of young folks don't vote, you get the actions of Abbott. You get the actions of Dan Patrick. You get these things. That's what happens when we don't vote. So testifying at the hearing is one thing. It's critically important. But if you didn't go to the ballot box, testifying don't mean a damn thing, because voting created those who are in power.
It's true. It's true. Tashara, I think you were going to say something. I'm over here typing.
Yeah, I agree. And as Roland already mentioned, I was down there testifying, not specifically for that, but certainly for a policy that had some impact here in Texas. I would just say, again, if you're not going to do the work that comes after you go down there and testify, whether it was 200, 300, 500 people testifying, at the end of the day, if you're not getting out there to vote, then what are we doing? So
there you go.
Again, I do think that testifying is important. I was in Austin, 2-3 times this past legislative session doing some work. But I do believe that if you're not going to get out there and make it happen elsewhere, if you're one of those folks that are saying my vote don't count and all that nonsense, yada, 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 then look, you trying to call people out about not being in Austin to testify really doesn't mean a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all, we have about 5 minutes. Tashara has been really clear. She's been so generous with her time. Roland is landing, just getting back in town. Tashara has to be in full face hair and makeup at 3 o'clock in the morning to go do her day job. Please share if there's any last questions. While you guys do that, this is my ask. As I said, I'll be taking over the Black Former Student Network as president August the 1st. There will be lots of opportunities to join and amplify our efforts. What we're doing, hey, Shantae, I just saw my co-chair Shantae join the conversation. What we're doing has been a lot of work, but when you talk about money, let me tell you what helped change the tide. When we started that endowment, I think I saw Coffee and some of the others that were involved in this effort the first year, Pamela Benson Owens. This is what the foundation said to us, and this is what I'm starting to see now. When we went to the table to have conversations, they said, oh, you know what? We're very interested in you guys, because guess what? If you think about the time that Black students started coming to A&M, you're not at your maximum wealth yet. So for most of us, the ages that we are now you may be a trust fund baby, whatever, praise God for that. But for the rest of us, we are just now getting probably to prime philanthropic years, or where we're starting to have more money to give, or where we're starting to have thoughts about what we're going to do with our estate planning and all of that. And so we are at that place where they're like, oh yeah, we really want to start to hear from our Black alumni, because they're getting to the age where they have money and we want that money. And so the more money that we're able to raise and allocate, and for those of you guys that don't know, the scholarship that is endowed through the foundation, we only put 2 parameters on that scholarship. The student has to be Black and they have to have a 2.5. That's it. No other hoops to jump, no cartwheels to turn. They need to be a Black student and they need to have a 2.5. We made it as basic because when it's private funds, you can set your own criteria. So that's
and I dropped it to 2.0, but go ahead.
So that's the criteria that we set, and we were able to do that because the money was raised from all of you guys. I see LaChanti Solari, Angela Chapman, Jacqueline Miles, lots of you guys were donors and really helped us get their attention, because without giving them that first $100,000, they didn't care to talk to us. It was that first $100,000 that started the conversation and started them going, oh yeah, let's do the math. Oh, let's see, when do we start letting Black people in? Okay, so, oh yeah, they're getting to the age where they're estate planning, they're giving money. So if participating through the BFSN isn't just your jam, please think about ways that you can mobilize with what we're doing. We are really turning, I think, a corner for visibility and voice that we really haven't had in the past. And most of it is because of the donations that you guys have given and the money that we've been able to set aside to say we're serious. The Hispanic Network has raised goo gobs of dollars. And I got a statistic today, so please forgive me to my real journalists on the call. I haven't fact checked it yet, but it said that A&M is actually not technically a PWI anymore, because with the Hispanic population and the other plus the Black population, they're only at 49% actually white. I'm not sure. We need to fact check that. But the point that I want to make about the Hispanic alumni is that they have really mobilized and they have a voice at the table. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this actually plays out, because people think DEI is only Black. No, it's not, honey. DEI is not just Black. In fact, it's not just race. It's ableism and disabilities and gender, and there's so many things that are wrapped up in DEI. People just automatically think when they hear DEI.
And let me just
go.
Tashara, you go ahead.
I said what I wanted to say. People automatically think Black.
All right, so I wasn't going to say this point, but you mentioned the disabled, and again, anybody disabled, thank Black people, because the 1996 American with Disabilities Act, that is based upon a provision of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Yes, so when Black folks fought for the Civil Rights Act, that benefited women with Title IX and benefited disabled. And so understand what our fight has always been about. It has not always benefited just us. It's benefited everybody else. And if you gay and you are thankful for same-sex marriage, thank Black people, because that was based upon the 14th Amendment, the Equal Protection Clause. Those are historical facts. So let me say this here. I'm glad you mentioned the money. I have more than $1 million in assets. Because of this, Texas A&M will not getting a dime of my money. They need to show me that they are serious about supporting us. My company has a $30 million valuation. I'm sure there's some like conservative Aggies who are going, oh, we've got billionaires, we've got multimillionaires. We don't care about your money. That's fine. But when I created I gave $25,000 and created a scholarship fund in my high school. I could have easily done that at Texas A&M, but I refused to do so because of issues like this here. And what President Banks had better understand, what Chancellor Sharp had better understand, and what Board Chair Bill Mayholmes, a brother, had better understand, and the Board of Regents, is that we can take our money elsewhere. We can go give it to Prairie View. We can go give it to Texas Southern University. We can go give it to HBCUs. Because guess what? A&M has done a horrible job of recruiting our children. My sister Levita and her husband Manasir, 4 kids. First one went to Seton Hall. Second one went to Baylor. Third one went to Howard. Fourth one went to Prairie View because A&M's recruitment was horrible. And so what they need to understand is you're not going to create second and third generation Black Aggies if this is how you treat a Kathleen McElroy. You're not going to create an opportunity or a pathway for us to want to give if this is how you treat them. I was very clear. I was invited by a University of Miami graduate to come sit in their suite when A&M plays the Hurricanes in Miami. I will not be there. I removed my Texas A&M Journalism Ring of Honor Award from my set. You will not see until Texas A&M Board of Regents, Kathleen Banks, the president, and Chancellor John Sharp, until they publicly apologize to Kathleen McElroy, reinstate her original offer, a 5-year deal with tenure. Even if she declines it, I will not rep this university. You do not. This is the first time since I got my Aggie ring in 1990 that I have not worn it. I'm class of 91. I have not worn it. I'm not playing, because what you're not going to do is use me as a prop and then abuse me or folk who look like me when it suits your purpose.
I'm just amen. Tashara, closing words.
I do want to just address, we got a lot of folks commenting, and I want to make sure that you guys know we are seeing your comments. And one of the things that folks are asking for is a plan of action. So, Eric, I want to call you actually back to the forefront, because they want to know, we know you take the rim in August, but what are we doing from here? Roland has kind of laid out, what he's doing, but what are we collectively doing to make sure that we can all keep the momentum going? Because again, we can't just have this happen and then, we talk about it the week of, and then maybe next week and maybe the week after that, and then it just falls off. We need to keep having these conversations so others can know that they're supported.
So thank you so much for saying that. And I think we'll close it out on this. First of all, I need all of us at the table with all of our expertise, all of our education, all of our personal experiences and insights to work together collectively. And so what it sounds like may need to happen, if you guys love this format, if you loved what we did tonight, it sounds like this is just a part A, and maybe we do a part B, and then from there, and part B be focused more action oriented, and maybe we can get a couple other guests, maybe some of you that can join us and take it from here. I'm so grateful to Shara and Roland for coming on. I think this was the perfect way to let people know that we are aware, we are concerned, we are disturbed, we are disappointed. I think an apology is a amazing first ask, right? As just a very first ask. And I will get with Adrian Cornelius, who is our standing BFSN president right now, and have a conversation with him and Paula Harris, who's our board chair, and come up with a plan to, number one, request an apology. I think that there's no reason why that can't be our very first plan of action. We have Aggie conversations that still happen every Tuesday. I don't know, Ken, if you all will be addressing this at all or having any plan of action from your stakeholders. I know that Ken Robinson, also Angela Chapman, I know that you guys are very well connected with the foundation, where you all may have some audience that we don't have, but we really need everybody to decide to come on board and help us really impact change. Y'all, we have staff and faculty at A&M. Some of them were our friends when they were undergrads that are very worried and concerned about their roles right now, about their jobs, their livelihoods. Rudder, what is it? The Rudder Association.
Yeah.
Google them and look them up. Read some of the essays that they wrote. The way that they have the word I want to use, I don't think it's appropriate for me to use. It starts with the B, but the way they have misconstrued the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King to their purposes, it really made my stomach hurt just to read it. There are some very small but mighty voices. And like Roland said, we may not have the billions of dollars, although we might. I don't know about some of y'all. But it's getting the attention. And honestly, my first question for President Banks and for our leadership, do we care or do we not care? Do we want Black students at A&M or do we not? If we don't, just say that. And we know.
Just say it.
If we
just
don't,
say it.
Tell us, and we will come up with a plan, right? For the rest of us, for those of you that I know LaChauncey Solari, your son will be there in the fall. Angela Chapman, I know your daughter just graduated. Jacqueline Miles, your daughter is there now. Please forgive me if I'm not calling out your child that's in attending at this time. But we've got our kids there right now. We need to know. Do you want them there or not? We love them. We care about them. We want them to be somewhere where they're wanted, valued, and where they can flourish. And if it's up to us as the BFSN to make that happen, if there's other ideas you have about how we can continue to support and love on those students right now that need us more than ever, I, for one, am open to hearing that. And that is a priority for me and the organization as we go into the fall. So the gala will still be happening because we are there for our alumni. We're still going to celebrate them. We're still going to remind A&M that we have some very esteemed people that have graduated from A&M that we find, even if they haven't gotten a Distinguished Alumni Award, we know that they are distinguished and worthy. We're still going to celebrate those folks. We're still going to encourage and love on our current students. That's not going to stop because that's what we're called to do. Now, as it comes to prospective students, I think that's another conversation that we need to have. Thank you for your comments, you guys. Go to the
hey, Erica, next week I'm going to be hosting a Zoom with former student athletes. If you're
good.
one of them, if you want to be on it, they reached out to me after they saw my commentary. So just send me an email. That's my name, rolandsmartin.com. rolandsmartin.com. And folks can hit me up. If you're a former athlete and you want to be on that Zoom call, let me know, because they are former athletes. They're African Americans who are former athletes who are pissed off as well. And they are also ready to speak out. And we are mobilizing and organizing them as well. And so to A&M, I know y'all watching. I know the administration, y'all watching. Do understand. I know this mobilization organization game. I've sat at the feet of some of the top civil rights leaders in the country. And don't think for a second that we're going away. We're going to bring this heat on, and it's going to stay on y'all. And do understand, we're going to keep putting your faces out. We're going to keep putting your names out. And as my girl said in Color Purple, until you do right by us, y'all going to have a Black Aggie problem.
And with that, I love every one of y'all. I love you guys. You guys are each so near and dear to me. I appreciate you for tuning in this evening. This will be available on Roland's YouTube. So for anyone who is not able to catch it live, thank you, Roland, for giving us this platform. Please make sure you share the link with them. Send them to his YouTube. Subscribe. Follow Tashara Parker on Instagram. I'm Erica Rouse. I don't know if there's anything inside on my Instagram, but if you want to follow me, please do. And you guys, please be safe and have a good night. Thank you.
Holla.
Thanks, everybody.